Yeah, it should be all set now. I'm just making sure the audio is
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
set and all. That's a funky little spider, huh?
Yeah. Is that just a mic or is that a camera?
So this has a microphone in it. We use the rack audio, so we have a line running all the way back to the.
Okay.
Hopefully that doesn't break it. But
People?
yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
One, two, 1, 2. One, two, 1, 2. Test, test, 1, 2.
Okay.
Hello. So we are going to go ahead and get started. If everybody wants to grab a plate of food, something to drink, we have wine, lemonade. In the ice chest, we have White Claws. So get something before y'all sit down. So if you're over in this area, we're going to go ahead and have you come over here so that we can be a nice, intimate group. Grab some pizza. I'm giving y'all, it's so funny, we set up chairs and everybody's like on the outskirts. But if we can come up towards the front, if you don't mind, I think let's just make it a little bit more intimate. So maybe the first 2 rows. If you guys are there, you can stay at the table. Anyway, I want to give everybody an opportunity to fill up their plate. And because we have food, if you can quietly get up and get pizza, or food, feel free to. But we are in for a treat tonight, and I think you're going to want to hear everything. Shh, we are starting. Yes. So, okay, come on, Jack. Let's get this party started. I have a feeling that we'll have people from the first floor come up after their event is over. It's been a really busy week. How many of y'all have been at SaaS Stock this week or went to Sivo's event? I know my schedule has been full every single night, so it's like, wow. But I'm super excited to be here. I want to welcome everybody. And I'm excited to be doing this event with you, Jack. We met after South by Southwest on a walk, the boardwalk, and I always ask myself when I go to events like this or any event, who was the most interesting person that I met? And Jack by far was the most interesting person that I met on the walk. I mean, besides captivating me for an hour, us talking to one another, and he was telling me what he was working on and that he was coming back to Austin. And so I said, hey, you're going to be doing an event. Let's collaborate. Because I like to help founders find some of the best events in Austin. And I felt like what they were working on was something that I wanted our community to be aware of. So they help SaaS stock companies build AI into their platform. And we want to welcome you. So how do you say welcome? Go.
Hello, good evening everyone. My name is Jack. I say tervetuloa mukaan, which means
welcome.
Yeah.
So,
good to have you here. And yeah, we're going to be having a great time tonight.
Yeah. There's no need to take photos. If you're one of those people, I am. We are going to actually send out the slide deck to you after the event. So by Monday at the latest, probably this weekend, because I like to get it off my checklist. But we'll have the slide decks as well as contact information of everybody that presents. And let's see, what else did I want to say? And photos that we take. We're going to do our best to get through everything. We have been given permission. There was a little bit of a confusion with Meetup putting the 16th floor on some of y'all's invites. So I apologize for that. I'm not Meetup, but I did do a photo that was very clear that said Captain America. But we have until 8:30, so we have an extra 30 minutes, and then after each of the presenters, after they're all done, instead of doing a Q&A, what we're going to do is we're going to allow time for you to go and talk to each of the individual speakers, because I feel like you're going to gravitate to the person that you're most interested in. And then we will have, like I said, their contact information that you can reach out to them after the event. Anything else? Am I missing anything? So first up, who is first up? So you got to do the clicker down. These are testimonials. Wait, go back to the testimonials of people who have worked with Softlandia. Tell us a little bit about Softlandia.
Yeah, so we're an applied AI consulting and engineering company from Finland, and we also run a small-scale venture studio. And one of our co-founders, Mikko, is here, and here are a couple of quotes from our partners and customers about Mikko's work. So he's the guy who actually understands technology. I'm just hosting, and if you have any great questions, then Mikko is the right guy to discuss with.
And one of the things that we're going to put into the email that we send out is that they're offering kind of like office hours that you can schedule a time to meet with him to answer questions, correct?
That's correct. Although we haven't done this before, but it's something we've discussed with Cherie. So we are going to be hosting AI Mentor Office Hours, where any one of you can ask anything about AI, and we're happy to help.
Yeah, and we'll explain that in the email that we send out afterwards. Hey, Anna. So anyway, okay, let's go ahead and get started. So who's first up?
So first up is Anand, former product leader at Meta and Instagram. Give it up for Anand.
Thank you, guys. Just want to go quickly. So today I wanted to cover something called how the world is changing from product management to product architect. I'll tell you how I found this word and how, more individuals are empowered to do more with AI and what tools we can use in the world of product management to be even more empowered and make a lot of decisions and go to market fast and do a lot of iterations fast. So that's kind of my area. Actually, I wrote a playbook on that, which I'm happy to share with you guys, the full book. But today I want to summarize it really quick so that it's of value and you guys can take at least some of these best practices to what you guys are building if you're in the product world or in the product development area. So little quick background. I've been in the tech industry for 20 plus years. Started as a software engineer, 6+ years. And then I was a technical architect at that point where I was designing how the front and back end systems have to come together and all that stuff. I was with Verizon at that point. And then I went to work at startups after that, like went to do my B school and then went to work at a bunch of good startups. Pinside, which was acquired by SoftBank. Then I went on to work with Vungle, which was also acquired for $800 million. And then I went to work at Meta. So I became a head of product growth at some point, initially at Messenger, then at Instagram. Then went on to build startups again. The first company I built as a VP of product, became a $1 billion valued company in the influencer marketing space called Grin. The second company that I built was sold for $100 million called Refussion. And then currently I'm building a company, a bunch of startups. I'm investing and advising, but also I'm building my own company called Expert9 that connects LinkedIn influencers to SaaS companies and helps them get referral marketing, influencer marketing, and all that. There's a bunch of AI elements we have incorporated as well. And it's only built by 2 people, just 2 people or 2 or 3 people that we are working with. And currently I'm also working as an investor advisor to multiple 14 plus startups, but also working with Softlandia as well as their product advisor for helping on their venture studio world. So that's a little background of my 20 years. I moved to Texas recently. So thanks for being super welcoming, Texas. I was in Bay Area for most of my life in the US and did a small gig at Miami, but then decided Texas is amazing, so I moved here. So that's a little background. So I want to start with some quick questions. So Safe, Superintelligence, Midjourney, Harvey, Cursor, Even Labs, what do you think is common among all these startups? Any answers? Exactly, and? Yeah, that's exactly right. So these companies have very, very small teams and $1 billion valuations. So that's where the world is heading. I can actually place a bet there'll be a 5 people $1 billion company soon, coming soon. So that's how much AI is impacting the product development area and also go-to-market CRO side, the revenue side as well. So that's kind of what the world is going to be, where startups will be having like 10 people, 20 people with $1 billion valuations. Imagine the amount of wealth that'll be creating for a lot of people. And so how does that world get created, right? And that's where I'm seeing the entire transformation from product management into this world called product architect. I mean, like I remember 18 years ago when I was a software engineer, my manager called me and said like, hey, you got to take requirements, you have to do the coding and you have to actually do the design and everything is as one person and you are the product architect for this MVP that we are building. And that's when I remember, okay, that world is coming soon back again. There's no need of multiple teams and multiple coordinations that needs to happen. As single people, as single product managers with strong product sense and execution, with a little bit more ability with these AI tools, we can be much more powerful especially in this new world of AI and startups. So that's kind of what I wanted to probably help and enable. The few things that I want to quickly cover, right? Today, if you get hired at Google, Facebook, any of these companies, they look for three things: product sense, execution analytical, and then product strategy. So if you're really good at these areas, you're good. But now you need to build two more areas really well. One is this idea of like AI-based design principles, like not just product sense, but also understand how this AI products are going to be more trustworthy for the audience, the UX elements and all that. If you have a good grasp of that, and also on top of it, understand deeper AI architecture, how to build AI products more effectively. So if you add those two skill sets on top of it, then you can come to this new world with much more power, much more strength. So that's kind of what I call the world of product architect. It's kind of that T-shaped profile. So not just having those fundamentals on product sense and execution, but also understanding how to have better prompting, prompt crafting, like data literacy, basic coding abilities. You don't need to know really a lot of code because, like literally I was building a script the other day on Python with Cursor. It was super easy, right? Like if you have good prompting skills, you're really good. So that's where it's super awesome, because a lot of non-technical people are like, can I do that? Of course, it's just a matter of time. Once you practice yourselves, you're going to get there. So, and then a bunch of design fundamentals so that you can use those design tools effectively. And definitely double down on the AI literacy part, which I'm going to talk a little bit. So really quick, 6 areas that I identified that product managers can build on from where they are. Of course, the fundamentals are always the same. Be very strong at product sense, understand your customers, understand their needs, their pain points and stuff, know how to prioritize the best ones, understand, what is the best ways to execute. But beyond that, like how do you do design ideation very, very quickly without designers, right? What are the tools that are available? How can you use them to get more value? How do you actually do coding and even quick prototyping and even launching them? So I love actually personally Cursor. I also love a bunch of tools that which I'm going to be listing and talking about on the prototyping side. I love on the data analysis side a tool called StatZig, which is pretty amazing. And also on the research side, I use a bunch of other data research tools to understand product discovery much better. So I want to cover all these 6 areas quickly. And then last but not the least, every product is going to be an AI product at some point. So you have to understand basic AI infrastructure, like simple things like rack chain model or even fine tuning, all of this really well so that you can make use of whatever products you are building and see if there's an AI angle and build it. That's what the world is going to demand. So getting deeper understanding of AI architecture is very, very important as a product person. So I would say like if you build in at least 1 or 2 of these with you, take 1 or 2 of these skill sets with you today, that'll be amazing. Let's go one by one. With design, right? So there's a whole set of tools that you can use for initial ideation to actually generating high fidelity mockups. The best one, I still feel like Figma has a bunch of AI plugins that I've been playing around with, which gives amazing prototypes. But beyond that, the one other tool that I've been using is Galileo. They have doing amazing job in creating that initial design inspiration for, and even adapting to the latest design models and all that, right? So I'm happy to share a lot more detail with you guys after this session on what tools and how to use them. But this is more like it's a 15-minute quick talk. So I want to quickly cover some of these areas that you can go ahead and play around with. And, even if you have like an amazing design team, this will actually empower you even more. Like at Facebook, we say like earn the respect of your design and engineering teams as a product people. So these kind of tools will be like giving you that extra thing where you can go to them and say, hey, I created a mock-up, see how this looks. Where do you think we can add things and all that? So you better collaboration with your teams. I'm not saying, throw away all your design teams and engineering teams and make the product person do everything. But this would complement you as a product person to be better and able to work with your engineering teams, design teams, your data scientists, and all that. So from ideation to high fidelity mockups to iteration, whole bunch of tools. I love personally Galileo and Figma, but definitely play around with Wizard and a couple of other ones that I've, in terms of tool selection, I look at it as an iterative process. Sometimes when I do coding, I like Cursor, sometimes I like Claude. So it varies by the use case. So as you play around with these tools, you'll get better handle of them and to see what can be used, okay? The next area is coding and prototyping, as I was saying. There is two types of platforms. One is the coding platforms, which do the code for you. Cursor is a good example, which I constantly love it. It's one of the best tools out there. But there's also no-code platforms like Webflow, Bubble, where you can use them and create quick deployments. Claude recently launched, hosting of this code. You can deploy and host it immediately, and that will be an MVP that you can send to your customers, get feedback, and iteratively improve. So those are like amazing tools that you can use. All the recommended tools are here. In what case I've been using them, but again, there's more obviously out there. I'm constantly exploring and learning as you guys are, and I'm trying to see how can I be that efficient product architect guy in my startup, in other places where I can do a lot more job, not because I don't want to employ more, but the one thing I realized being a product manager or a product director or someone is the most of the time is spent in collaboration and communication, right? That if I reduce it, I can be faster to market, I can be more leaner. So that's kind of my way of if I can become an expert in all these areas. Luckily, I have a software engineering background, so that makes it easy. But still, in some areas like design and all that, I'm learning as much as possible as well. So this is a great time we are in to empower ourselves even more in broader areas than be just the requirement gatherer or a product owner in a company. So the third area, which I actually love it because I'm a data scientist by background, so I used to write a lot of SQL codes and all that. Now there are tools out there where you can use natural language to write your queries. You don't need to know SQL and all that things, and that's pretty awesome. I love Mixpanel so much and StatSig for analyzing all the data. This is kind of my area, right? I love experimentation. I love changing things in the product, get it done, quick run experimentations. Now with AI, this has become super easy and simple. Definitely check out StatSig. I have not connected with them, but I love the product, the way they've built it, especially for data prediction, data analytics, and even diagnosis of issues in the product. The other one that I like in terms of user research is Hotjar and Mace. So understanding how users use your product, probably you might have heard of the terms like rage click and all that. When people don't like something, they press it and all. These guys do all the analysis on your product and then tell you where the product is broken, where the flow is working, and all that. So that's pretty cool. It's like having a God's view of how the customer is using all the product and getting a summary out of it and saying these are the places the product is working, this is where it's broken. I also love using some of the survey tools. Earlier surveys were fixed. Now when you're doing customer surveys or discovery, you can actually dynamically change the survey questions with some of these AI tools like Loop Panel and all that. The one thing that I'm trying to do this, the hardest part of being a good product manager is constantly talking to customers and new people and getting their inputs as well. I'm trying to make ChatGPT play a certain role of my ICP and ask him questions and try to defeat that process. I'm not being super successful. Still talking to humans is the best thing, but I'm kind of introverted in a way, so I try to make ChatGPT, hey, take this role, be this lady who's doing this, and then tell me an answer for this, and then do my surveys with ChatGPT to cheat the system, but it's still not worked effectively, but I'll tell you when it works effectively, because they have all the data, right? So that's a little bit on user research. Definitely a very building your product sense and on top of the user research is amazing with all these AI tools. I loved it. Like when I was building Expert 9, I had whole bunch of questions which I didn't have answers to, but these tools helped me realize like what is my ideal MVP to go to market, and we already like 100K revenue positive in month over month. And then last but not the least, writing user stories, like, you know, day world of product managers. Now I know you guys are already doing this. All product managers don't write it manually. Acceptance criteria, user stories, and everything can be written by AI. ChatGPT does a really good job in doing all of that. I just give them the basic thing, hey, help me write everything in detail so that tomorrow the engineers don't complain saying, oh, you didn't cover that use case. I didn't cover that use case. Everything is covered for me. So I love it. So yeah, like there's also a bunch of other tools that I found out. Like one is Tability, which actually helps me on the OKR side, generating the right OKRs, measuring the right way. And then there's one thing called Tara AI, which is a little bit more on the project management, helping me on like estimating how many resources are needed and things like that. So it's super helpful. Now that we can do end-to-end from project management to product documentation and all that with AI. I know Notion is everybody's using Notion. Notion already has built-in plugins for writing your PRDs and your user stories, acceptance criteria, and everything. Yeah, I love Notion too. They're pretty solid in that way. And last but not the least, as I said, like these are areas that you can get better and beyond the product areas. But then if you don't understand some of the foundations of the AI architecture, you cannot be building strong AI products. So I would say like 90% of the products in the future is going to be AI products in a way. Whether you like it or not, that's what the customers would want. That's what your companies would want. So understanding what kind of architecture to use, understanding what models to use, understanding what, even within agentic AI, there are 6 types of agentic AI. Which one to use in what cases is very important. I'm happy to, if I talk about this will be a whole day lecture. Really gone deep. There's a lot of curiosity I had. What is working, what doesn't work, how these models are built and all that. There's so much good material that's free. I'm happy to talk about this, but just to keep it simple for this lecture. So definitely build your knowledge on AI architecture, AI models, prompt engineering. What's the best way to prompt and get the right output for not only for you, but also for your systems to do the right prompts to the ChatGPT or the Gemini models and get the right outputs. And then there's a concept called evals. Like you have to constantly evaluate whether the AI is giving you the right outputs or like, figure out ways to find out if it's not reaching your bar. There's a whole science behind it, which definitely is another day. You can reach out to me. I'm happy to talk about this all day. So that's the last area that you have to know as product managers these days, and you have to build yourselves in this area. And yeah, I'm going to pause. I know it's a 15-minute quick short speech. So definitely connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn. I've released this playbook, a smaller version of this. I'm going to release a full book for free soon about all this, the tools, the prompts and everything, so that you can be a very strong product manager, product architect. And please ask me questions after the session is over. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, thank you, Anand. And then next up is Mikko Lehtimäki, one of the co-founders of Softlandia.
All right, good to see you all here. My name is Mikko. My background is in the data science side. Used to work in robotics, did my PhD in neuroscience and machine learning, and the last couple of years with Softlandia, we've been building different kinds of applications powered by data, powered by AI, especially Gen AI now in these last couple of years. I'm going to share some lessons we've learned from our recent Gen AI-based use cases and deployments we've done, and hopefully you'll find something to take home from this. So yeah, I don't really need to motivate you why AI is interesting now. It's pretty cool, that's all I'll say. The first case study, let's talk about Joined. Joined is a platform for retail businesses to collect all their data, combine different data sources into one platform, giving Joined's customers access to their data in one place and enabling different analytics, allowing you to draw insights from all the data that the retail businesses are gathering. With Joined, we added AI capabilities on their platform so that users could basically chat with their data. They could command an AI to draw visualizations, to create dashboards, and to analyze the data in the dashboards. This would greatly simplifies and speeds up the data analysis process for Joined's customers. I'm going to combine a few use cases or a few case studies here and go to the lessons that have been learned from all of these together. So the second case study we've done recently is called Happy Signals. This is a platform where IT service user happiness can be gathered. So enterprises are using Happy Signals to see how well their IT services are doing, how happy their users are, and giving them a way to make decisions based on that data. With Happy Signals, we've built some AI features on their platform so that users can quickly dive into that data and get some actionable insights from all the data that is aggregated on the platform. Then finally, we have a case study from Amplify Now, which is a local Austin company. With them, we've taken them really quickly from idea to prototype in a couple of weeks so that they've been able to deploy it to their production instance and get feedback and more ideas with their customers with quick speed. So yeah, there's a couple of things that connect all these use cases. Of course, the chat feature is a common theme. It's very intuitive to use. If you have a lot of data, it would be nice to just ask questions and get answers in a chat manner, because there's always something you want the data to tell you, but it might be manual to do, slow to do that analysis manually. It's nice to have some kind of a chat. You can chat with text, you can chat with voice. I will show examples from both. Yeah, then all these case studies are driven by data. Gen AI in general really thrives on data because it has this not human-like, but a very quick, very efficient way of giving you actionable insights, especially if you combine it with traditional tools like creating and running code on the data and giving it the ability to crunch numbers. It's like a superpower to have. And you can go very deep, for example, use cases like doing root cause analysis on your data sets, getting insights into what does this actually, why is something happening, what should I do about it. The first thing I think everyone should always keep in mind that the UI, the UX really matters with the AI tools. We're kind of used to chat. It's kind of simple to build a chatbot these days, like we just saw all the tools out there that help you put some code together and give you the ability to chat. But what's challenging with chat is that it doesn't really help the user along. There's no restrictions, so you have to be mindful that what do you do when the user wants to do something that actually you don't have the capabilities to support. What if the user asks for something that isn't implemented? What if the user tries to get into information that they shouldn't access? You have to design around those. And for that, it's always good to think that do you really need a full-blown like chat UX, right? Here's one example how you can build the chat with some control in it. You can give the user some choices in the chat flow. You can ask them to select from multiple options. In this way, you know that these are options that your user flow really can implement. You can include interactive elements. For example, in the middle screenshot, there's this element that you can click through, and all these clicks can be gathered. We know all the time what the user is seeing, and when they're ready to proceed, we can take advantage of this information without asking the user to type in, because that's kind of slow and laborsome for the user. So definitely think if you can utilize some kind of interactive components in your chat flows. If you want to add speech, understanding speech input in your chat view, there's a couple of different ways to do it these days, and they come with different trade-offs. The traditional flow starts from speech input, it goes to transcription, then there's a language model which gets a prompt, and finally you synthesize some speech back. The other flow is with the new real-time speech models which can ingest both ingest the speech directly and give you a fast response immediately. The difference is that these are very different flows to implement prompting-wise. The real-time speech models are much harder to prompt than the basic LLMs, so you really have to consider if your use case values the speed. Do you want fast responses, or do you more care about controlling what happens in the chat, how the language model behaves? There are going to be trade-offs here. So yeah, keep that in mind. This screenshot is from the Happy Signals platform. So now we're moving on to the UX that doesn't completely depend on a chat view. Happy Signals gathers a lot of data from the IT services. The user feedback the IT services get is all collected on this platform, and then it can be aggregated into different trend lines, different bar plots, different aggregations showing you what's currently happening and how users are using your tools and how they are rating different areas of the service. The problem here is that there's a lot of data here. So how do you go from all these visualizations into actually something actionable? Are you going to click through all the filters and see where things go all red, and maybe that's a hint that you found something you should focus on? It actually takes a really, really experienced user to be able to build something or make a decision based on this data. What we've done with Happy Signals is that we've embedded these kinds of AI-powered components. So with a quick glance, it directly tells you what data is actually important here, what kind of actions you could draw from it. And the important part is, of course, that you want to be able to verify these suggestions. You want to know that these are based on facts, because we don't blindly trust LLMs anymore, right? So we can embed these links, hyperlinks on the LLM response, and you can click them to add filters on the platform, and that way you can quickly dive deeper into the data and get faster to the decision-making process. Going into a bit more technical details, if you want to go from the prototype to production level, you really need to design your system so that it's modular. Because there are a lot of components that go into an AI build. There's of course the prompts, there's the different models. The models may have access to different tools like writing code or creating visualizations. You typically compose these into workflows. You have to handle authentication. You're probably processing different data types like numbers, text, spreadsheets, whatnot. And every time you change something, you're going to be affecting a chain. You're going to see possibly unexpected effects down the chain. So you have to consider that each update is quick to make and that you know what actually happens as a result of that update. We've all used some kind of frameworks for implementing Gen AI. Maybe you've heard of tools like LangChain or Llama Index, which are very nice for building prototypes and quickly kind of testing ideas. And these are great tools. You can even take them to production. But if you do that, you should be very mindful that they're not forcing you in a way of working that is going to prevent you from updating the capabilities later on. So carefully evaluate what is actually the feature from the framework that you need, and do you actually need to do it in the way that the framework is enforcing, or should you consider making your own version that you have full control out of? And of course, the modularity means that you have to invest in the software architecture behind the AI solution. And if you have that in place, then it's quite neat to code all the software with AI-powered coding tools like we just saw in the previous talk. It's possible to build impressive stuff in quick speed, but you have to have the architecture in place for the coding tools and AI assistants to utilize so that you keep control of the big picture. As an example of this modularity, you can look at the RAG example flow here. So retrieval augmented generation is the acronym. It's typically the algorithm you implement when you want your language model to have access to a bunch of data sources, ground truth data, factual information that is behind the answers that you get from the LLM. So let's not walk this through, but it's just to show you that there's a bunch of components that you want to have control over. I think finally we should remember that data is never static. And if LLMs thrive on data, then you should obviously have control over that data. So if you've heard the term AI or LLM evaluations, that's pretty important now that we are going to production with our AI builds. Because you have to be able to measure the system that you build. You need to be able to put some kind of number on the quality of the responses that you get from your AI. How well is it actually doing in your use case? And this means that you have to have the technical team communicate with the business domain experts so that you can design the space where you evaluate your AI's results. And when you have these measurements in place, it gives you the ability to actually see, are your improvements or changes to your prompts, for example, actually improving the system as a whole, or are you just making updates on the fly and kind of hoping that it will give you a better result, but still being blind to the big picture. So you need measures to capture what is happening in the system overall. This is what the evals can look like. So what we have on the screen is basically two versions of the same prompt. The columns show the different versions of the prompt, and then the rows show slight variations in the prompt. And with those, the point is that you want access to this kind of visualizations. If you previously had a prompt giving you pass, pass, green results, everything great, like in the left column, you want to know if an update takes you to the state in the right column where you suddenly get failing results from your prompts, or if you remained in the green, are you still good to go with your use case after some updates to the either a model or a prompt or another piece of the system. Without this kind of data, you're basically in the blind when you're building systems that are based on prompts. And if you're still kind of looking for the use cases for AI, this is a framework that we've found helpful with our customers or our team members who are wondering how could they best utilize AI to improve their own work-life balance, let's put it that way. You want to educate the people, you want to give them the possibility to try different tools, try different frameworks, and you want to run these experiments, see what's working, and share the results as well. And when you share the results from what you tried, you can then again, improve on those and collectively build the ability to work with AI tools and work with LLMs and upskill yourselves. Thanks. That is my slides.
Thank you, Mikko. We're going to take a 5-minute quick break. There's restrooms back here. Help yourself. There's lots of food. Please help. And we're going to hear from Nicole. We're going to hear a VC's perspective on all of this after the break. And remember, we will be sending out the slide deck with information on all the presenters, so you'll get everything that you've seen here, and you'll have their information to reach out and ask questions. Also, if you use a QR code on your name tag, you can connect with people here so that you can follow up. That is what the name tags and the QR code is.
All right, everyone. We're going to continue in a minute, so please take your seats when you can. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to continue on. Next up, we have Nicole Bentz. Is it Bentz? Bentz from, yeah, come on up. S3. You're going to speak for a while?
Thank you. All right, well, thank you. Excited to be here, everybody. Thanks for having me. I am, let's see, wrong way. All right, so here to talk to you today about kind of the VC's perspective on breaking down AI native and AI enhanced companies and how we're evaluating them and what we're seeing work and the challenges or stumbling blocks that either companies face. So before I get into that, just wanted to give you a quick intro into myself and S3. S3, we've been investing, so the whole team is based here in Austin. We've been investing for about 20 years now. Currently have $900 million in AUM operating out of our 7th fund, which is a $250 million fund. Primarily investing C to Series B, so early stage, check sizes 1 to 10 million with the capacity to do 20 million plus over the life of a company. One thing that's really unique about us as a firm is that we have a single LP and always have for all 20 years. So that's certainly a luxury for us as a firm, but what it means for our founders is that we really have the capacity and the ability to be patient capital and not operate within the typical kind of 10-year time horizon that most venture funds are beholden to. My background, I've been in venture for the last 7 years, been at S3 for the past 4, and then before all this started my career in consulting. We've seen at a high level, a lot of both what I would call AI native and AI enhanced or enabled companies over the past couple of years and have made investments really on both sides. And so going to share with you a little bit kind of some of the lessons learned and what we see working and not working on either side of those. I will say maybe just like before I get into it, I do feel like, maybe 6 months ago or so, like software or SaaS became almost a dirty word. Like everyone was saying software was dead. I don't think that's true. I think there is certainly a world for both AI native and AI enhanced or empowered companies. And like I said, we've invested in both. So with that, I can kind of go ahead and get started. And, first I thought I could do some, again, this is like from a VC's perspective, right? So some definitions on how we look at AI first or AI native and AI enhanced companies. And at a high level, I'd say on the AI native side, these are companies that are like truly reinventing the tool, right? They were born from like the ground up, built with AI architecture in mind and how they're going to interact with like agentic workflows, all that stuff. So built with AI in mind from the very beginning. It's not necessarily a feature. It's like true and a core part of the product, right? And what's interesting about a lot of AI native companies that we've been meeting with and investing in is that in many ways they're either like creating brand new markets or creating new workflows or in some ways making markets that were previously existing perhaps but weren't necessarily considered venture backable, suddenly venture backable. Like Anat, I think you had a slide there about well, yeah, your first slide on like all the companies, employee count and valuation, like, for a long, long time, Harvey, for instance, which was on the slide, like selling into a law firm was kind of like a, from a VC perspective. But when you can do it with a 15, employee company and incredible margins, like suddenly that is very, very much venture backable. So exciting stuff that you're seeing there. And then on the AI enhanced side, these are kind of traditional software companies that are incorporating AI features and functionality into their existing products, right? So they're upgrading the tool is what I would like to kind of think of. And I'd say, the AI features themselves are like really improving the product, but not necessarily core to the product, right? And in some ways, the way I think about these companies is that they're either improving existing markets or maybe expanding them or modernizing them over time. And so here, going to talk about some of the lessons learned from AI-first companies, both what's working and then what we've seen either be a challenge or like a potential stumbling block when you're talking to a VC investor. So in terms of like what wins, companies that can point to and really have a true ROI, a quantifiable, measurable ROI that they're delivering to the user, obviously either through, improved outcomes or automated outcomes, even like in an ideal sense, that certainly wins out. Companies that are building and have like a true data advantage core to the product, right? So either they're leveraging proprietary data that their users are actually creating within the product, or they're integrating feedback loops that are informing the product and improves the model over time, is something that we like to see and that I think is certainly a plus for AI native companies. And then, the last thing I'll say is, pricing I think is really important when you're thinking about like, if you're starting a company and you're thinking about, okay, like how do I build this business and scale it? Like being very thoughtful about the pricing model actually doesn't get as much attention maybe as it should, but I want to call it out because obviously, and for cost can scale with usage, right? And so you need to make sure that you're pricing your product to account for that, and that you're getting paid for the value that you're actually delivering. What doesn't work, or areas that I've seen founders like really stumble with, is when you're AI washing a product. We've seen companies, met with companies that have a lot of hype around the product and are really excited about what they're doing, but there's like really no utility that they're delivering at the end of the day. And then, again, on the unscalable gross margins, I think kind of already talked about that, but the other one I'd say is like companies that are building like effectively a black box where their users don't really understand how it works. Often that leads to adoption friction, especially in companies where you're like working in regulated industries or they can't trust the model, right? Where you like need that high level of trust in order to get credibility with your customer. So that's something that we've seen companies struggle with here recently. And then on the AI enhanced side, here what we're seeing is like they're really putting and embedding AI in areas where it matters, right? So that they're improving the user experience, they're getting faster time to value, improving retention potentially, or just like overall making the customer journey a better experience. These companies are often, I think, like when they're doing it really well, they're tightly integrated into existing workflows and then using that to improve the product over time, right? And then last thing I'd say is like, obviously, as you continue to use the product, like that improves the performance of the model over time as well. And then on the, like what fails or what doesn't work as well, it seems like there was a season where every startup, maybe like a year ago, met with their board, and their board all asked them the exact same question, which is like, what are we doing in AI? And there are certainly companies where, you look at what they're building in AI, and it's like very much answering that question, not necessarily what do our customers need and actually want. So an AI is, maybe an afterthought or even like a marketing gimmick in the worst of cases, right? Companies where, again, kind of going to this trust point, but like if there's a high hallucination risk, that's always going to be an issue. And then I think we're at a really interesting point because a lot of, the incumbents are doing really interesting things. Like SaaS incumbents are doing really interesting things in AI. And so fundamentally, like if you as a startup don't have a right to win, it's going to be really hard to go up a large incumbent with massive distribution that already has the customers. So really like nailing that why you have the right to win, I think is super important as well. Lastly, I just said thank you. Appreciate you guys having me out here and happy to answer any questions.
On the slide with what to do and what not to do in AI-first companies, you had something like unscalable pricing model or something like that. Can you give us an example of what it could be? What do you mean about that?
Yeah. So I would say like at a high level, when we're meeting with we're early stage, so gross margins are often at a place where they're not scalable, like they're not at the point at which you think they will be when you're at scale, right? But being intentional about your pricing model and ensuring that you're getting like the full value, like the value of what you're delivering to the customers. And there's many ways to do it. Like there's a bunch of good posts out there around usage-based pricing, outcome-based pricing, but being very thoughtful in how you price your model and how it relates to your business model and the product itself was kind of really the point there, if that helps.
Yeah, I kind of like this question because I see like now there's a lot of struggle. Should we do usage-based or should we do classical SaaS?
Yeah.
And,
or a hybrid.
For some time, there was a big trend going into token-based usage, something like that, points or anything. But right now, you can see that every large provider is even ChatGPT, they have a perfect pricing cost structure to do it usage-based.
Yeah.
And they make source of revenue that is ChatGPT. They still do classical SaaS. So do you see from your experience, are we moving back to the SaaS classical pricing model or?
I think it depends on the product and the business model and what you want to incentivize your customers and users to pay you for, right? I think NFX had a great framework that listed out a bunch of different emerging pricing strategies in AI and how they relate to either user workflows or specific kind of business models that I'm happy to find the link and share with you. But I think there's no perfect answer. There's no one size fit all, and I don't think there's it's not necessarily that the pendulum's going to swing and we're going to go all the way back over. I think finding the right one that fits your business is I think more important. Of course. Sure. Go ahead.
I have a follow-up question that's very similar to that. Of all that you've seen, each of us is one little slice, one anecdote. You've got the advantage of seeing across multiple countries. So can you give some examples of the best, most successful pricing models, and that might kind of cue us into what might work?
We've got a couple companies that are employing more of an outcome-based pricing model, and I'm a really big fan of that because then it's very, very clear exactly what your customers are paying for, and it's also incredibly clear is this working or is it not? That's a hard place to get to, but I think that's for a lot of businesses an ideal pricing model, but it takes time.
That does sound very complex.
Go ahead.
Can I ask a question for also Mikko and
Yeah.
So my question is, what are some of the mistakes that startups especially without AI engineers, that they make that eventually cost them some money or some problems later on from their product? What are some of the common mistakes you see?
I think the biggest one is if you go to production without any kind of evaluations. If you don't have any measure of how well your prompts are performing, that's maybe the biggest one, because then you're in the blind when you upgrade your system. You don't really know if you're doing good or bad work if you can measure it.
And what would you say are the main consequences of the future?
Or you're going to have to take the time to build the data sets for the evaluations to measure actually. So yeah, it's going to slow you down sooner or later, but eventually. And if you don't take the time, then you may run the risk that an update you make actually like results in a worse user experience than what you were previously able to deliver. It's the way of working is similar to how you would develop machine learning models in the past.
So yeah, you shared a case study from Zoind, and how they started is that they had a data scientist coding a prototype really fast, and they knew in advance that there's pros and cons. So if they develop something really fast, they learn faster, but the con is that if the architecture is not something that scales, then they need to do quite a bit of refactoring and restructuring of the tools later on. And that was pretty distinct case in our case study list in the sense that they started and they went quite along with their prototype. So could you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, I think every software engineer can relate that it's never a good idea to take a prototype to production, but it's tempting because it's the quick way. But sometime eventually you just have to take the time to build the modularity in the system so that you have control over the moving parts like the prompts and the models and everything else that goes into the system. So yeah, it comes down to paying attention to good software engineering practices, which is also like a very good reason to have technical people in your team, even if you are building with AI-powered tools. Bill.
I have a question. When you're building evaluation systems, I assume you're probably having a more capable model evaluate a slightly less capable model. Is that true?
That can be true. It's not always the case. So sometimes we're able to design the evaluation so that you don't need another LLM necessarily evaluating the responses.
The same LLM that's generating responses is also doing the evals?
That can be done, yeah. But sometimes you don't need an LLM at all to evaluate the results. If you can structure your features so that the output is somehow structured or doesn't result in natural language, then it doesn't have to be another LLM. LLM as a judge is the pattern referred to here. But yeah, usually my recommendation is that you just use the best possible model for generating the answers and the best possible model for judging the answers. And don't optimize too early for any cost savings or speed gains.
I was just struggling with that, with the model evaluating itself. Like, it just seemed intuitive that there should
Yeah.
be models that play that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done both, and like both have worked, but I just don't really, it just seems kind of almost mind-breaking.
Yeah.
The same model evaluating itself.
It's super odd. Yeah, that's absolutely true, and it takes advantage of the kind of inference time computation phenomenon. So you just give it kind of more compute to solve the problem by having these multiple steps.
For me, it was easy because I had a capable model which was more expensive evaluating open source models. I had to use open source for
Yeah.
various reasons. So that worked out really well, but that constraint wouldn't have been there. It's like, what do? You do an anthropic test it.
Yeah.
Evaluate itself or put memorize or it's a philosophical question.
Yeah, right. Even better if you can throw multiple models at it and aggregate over a large data set. That's going to be the way you build trust in it. Good stuff.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so that's it for now for the keynotes and so on. And now we have plenty of time to have more drinks. And then for all of you who stayed until the end, we have some Finnish chocolate for you to taste. And yeah, please take the chance to discuss with Anand, Nicole, and Mikko one-on-one and ask difficult questions. Thank you. And yeah, by the way, we are heading to the retail therapy next door right after this around 8:30. So we have still almost an hour to go here. So yeah, let's enjoy and let's have a good time. Oh yeah, and Sherry wants to take a photo. So yeah, let's do that. And then refreshments.
So, yeah, Nicole.
I didn't know what kind of what party you wanted. I want one of y'all too. Yeah, okay. So Anand, Nicole, and Mikko, you come to the photo. You can take. No, but she's taking. Let me know. One photo. Thank you. Yeah, let's do one selfie real quickly. Take on that side. Alright, say hi. So we had like companies by not paying anything. Thank you. No, maybe already try to tell them. Alright.
Go ask questions. Grab more pizza.
Have a blessed day. Thank you so much.